Just had one about 3 or 4 pounds follow it. I'm not sure if the camera picked that up. Now see, I'd been throwing that spinnerbait and not really catching much, and that's always a sign that you need to slow down. All right. See you, buddy.
Hello there, and welcome everyone. Today we're fishing the Tallapoosa River, which is part of the Mobile River Basin. And in the Tallapoosa River drainage, you have 3 native species of black bass. The Tallapoosa bass, which is an upland species of black bass endemic to the Tallapoosa River drainage, which basically means it's found in the Tallapoosa River and nowhere else in the world. So if you want to catch one, you have to fish a creek or river that's part of the Tallapoosa River system. You also have the Alabama bass and the largemouth bass. Today, we're not really targeting any one fish. It's the second week of April and the dogwoods are blooming here in the Piedmont region. I've never fished this part of the Tallapoosa River in April, so I'm really just fishing. I do need a Tallapoosa bass for the Georgia Bass Slam, but I'm gonna make another trip probably in May, so that'll be in another video. Anyway, the river is low and relatively clear, which is kind of rare for this part of the Tallapoosa River in April. So that's why I'm here and fishing this section. I hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching.
Just had one about 3 or 4 pounds follow it. I'm not sure if the camera picked that up. Wow, did you see that? Another small Tallapoosa bass, or it appears to be a Tallapoosa bass anyway. There's a lot of hybridization in the Tallapoosa River, especially here in Georgia, between the native Alabama bass and the Tallapoosa bass, which are also native. There's not a lot of big drops and waterfalls to protect populations. It's another Alabama bass. I thought that might be a Tallapoosa bass. Another Alabama bass. Again, they are native to the Tallapoosa River drainage. They were actually described from the Tallapoosa River drainage. That's why they're called Alabama bass. The Tallapoosa River and the Coosa River, see you, actually converge down below Wetumpka, Alabama, and form the Alabama River. So that's why they're called Alabama bass, if anybody was wondering about that. Had a flurry of action right there at the head of this pool. If you look upstream here, we've got some relatively flat water here, kind of this, you see this run here where the foam is on top of the water, and then above that there's a higher gradient section of the channel where the water's moving much faster, you know, because gravity's, the channel gradient's steeper, it's flowing downhill, being pulled by gravity. So in the spring, it's not uncommon for bass and other game fish to, you know, form aggregations at the head of these pools. There's also typically more coarse substrate free of silt and other fine sediment at the head of the pool. Again, that's due to the turbulence in the steeper section of the channel right there. So that water, that tumbling action, that turbulence keeps silt and fine sediment from settling to the bottom. So right there, there's lots of good, you know, clean, coarse substrate the fish can spawn on, but also any potential food drifting downstream. Of course, the fish are going to have the first shot at it, you know, at the head of this pool. So those are two real good reasons for fish to, you know, congregate or form aggregations, you know, at the head of these pools like that. They can also be in these flatter sections, and they frequently are, especially the Alabama bass, but the Tallapoosa bass and the other upland species, they're more likely to be where that faster water meets this slower water, where it transitions to this flatter section. Wow, that was a good one. Kind of looks like a largemouth. That's the best Tallapoosa bass so far. Again, that appears to be a male. And these fish typically spawn in May. You know, I'm sure some probably do start spawning in April, but for the most part, the spawn, Tallapoosa bass here in Georgia at least, they spawn in May. Get this guy back in the water. See you, buddy. Too big to be a Tallapoosa bass. I did not think this fish was anywhere near this size. It's a nice Bama bass. Now see, I'd been throwing that spinnerbait and not really catching much, and that's always a sign that you need to slow down, even with these Alabama bass in a river. That's a nice fish. I'm not going to put him on the board or her, but see ya. So, I was sitting down when I caught that last fish, which I never really like doing because you can't see the surface of the water very well or what's in the water if I'm sitting down. That's not to say you can always see it when I'm standing, but you can see a lot more. And I think it just makes for a more interesting video. But anyway, what we have here is an inside channel bend. You know, the channel makes a bend here, the water's flowing downstream towards me, and typically when you think of a channel bend, you think of the outside bend being where the deep water is, and that's certainly true most of the time. And it's certainly also true that that is where the most current often is. But we have an inside channel bend here, and there's current all the way to the bank along the inside bend of the channel here. If you watch that stuff floating on the water, you can kind of see it when the sun catches it. And then as we get down here, the channel continues to make this bend, but we have an irregular bank or stream bank, mainly due to erosion. But when the water's high, there's probably a little back eddy here, and that's what's been eating away at this bank. But anyway, if you look right here, there's no current. There's kind of a back eddy right here now with the water down. But when the water's high, like it often is in the spring, the fish use these. If you can imagine the water being 3, 4, 5 feet higher or more, you know, I'm sitting right on the seam, the current seam here. To the right, you have got this back eddy, this slack, almost semi-slack water, and then the current is out here. And I caught that Alabama bass, that last fish I caught, you know, right inside this little shaded area here where there's little or no current. Here's what the water willow looks like when it's dead. Speaking of dead, I'm about to be dead. Disaster averted. That's a good one. Not a big one, but a solid one. Let's get a largemouth. Oh, we got the Tallapoosa Slam. He's got the red eyes. I wonder if he was a male up there spawning. Solid largemouth. Pretty sure that's a female, and the eyes are no longer red. You can see the. Oh, I got my bait's hung somehow. It's a good way to lose a rod, actually. Boy, I just had a Bama bass come racing after that as I was reeling that worm in. And it was not a small fish, but not a big fish either. Well, that was a Bama bass, but not a big one. I don't think it was the one chasing my worm either. Now I've got a fish came off and my worm's in the tree. That's a fine how do you do. So for anyone wondering what these fish are relating to, it's just the channel. You know, you've got, this is, whoa. Oh, look at that little pot-bellied Tallapoosa bass. That's the largest one of the day so far. That one's pushing 9 or 10 inches maybe. Nice healthy one. See you, buddy. But back what I was saying, this is just we've got a slight bend in the channel here, and the deepest water between both banks is right where I've been casting this worm. And that also happens to be where the most current is. There's, you know, this is a pretty flat section of the river, so there's not a lot of current, but you can see all the debris on the surface. It's just, I wouldn't say there's considerably more current where the fish are. It's just deeper water, you know, it just kind of drops off. I have felt some wood debris down there, so, you know, there could be a log or something like that, you know, partially buried in the sediment. But there's probably a few bedrock outcrops, but I mean, it's nothing special. Finally got you. Oh yeah. Check out that butterball. That's a female. She's got some, you can tell by looking at the opening there. But it's a beautiful fish. I'm gonna put this one on the board real quick. There's a place I can get out. Alright. See you, buddy. This Tallapoosa bass, and it might even be bigger than the last one, I don't know. It's definitely a lot darker, but that coloration will fade if I hold him out of the water, or her out of the water. Try putting this one on the board just to see how big she is compared to the last one. It really bothers me that my camera wasn't on. Yeah, this one is not quite as long as the last one. It's just over 11 inches. I mean, that's a nice Tallapoosa bass, don't get me wrong. But I'm gonna release this. Well, I typically do like to revive the fish, but that one slipped out of my hands. These fish have gotten a lot more aggressive now here in the afternoon. That I made a cast, a long cast, and that fish ate it before it even got to the bottom. I mean, I felt it taking off right after I made the cast. There's another one. There's a log or something out there. This is another Tallapoosa bass. Oh, he got me in a log. Got me around something right there. I ain't believing that. The fish is still on there, but it's wrapped on something. Can't believe that. There it goes. There we go. I don't think it's bigger than the last one, but it's a nice one. Yeah, it's definitely not as big as the last one. Let me get back over here where I can get out. Yeah, this one is definitely not as big, but it's a beautiful fish. Look at that. It's still kind of early in the year. I'm going to try to get in the sun here, but you can see the white fin margins on the margins of the soft dorsal, the anal, and the caudal fin or the tail fin. And you know, the Tallapoosa bass and the Cahaba bass are the only two upland species of black bass that don't have any red or orange pigment in their fins. See you, buddy. I'm just using a Texas rig Zoom Finesse worm. I started out with green pumpkin with red metal flake. You know, I don't think it matters as long as it's green pumpkin, but this one happens to be green pumpkin with purple flake, but I'm only using it because I ran out of the other ones. But again, I don't think it matters. In the spring, I do like using the red flake when the water has, you know, it's kind of has some color to it. It's not totally as clear as it is in the summer. I've caught 3 in 3 casts right here. Let's see if we can go 4 for 4. Yeah. There's a log or something out there. Well, there's multiple logs. Let me make that. They're getting smaller though, which that's to be expected, I guess. There's another Tallapoosa bass. His dorsal, spiny dorsal is kind of messed up. That could be from several things. A predator or even a careless angler could have done that, but get this guy back in the water. See you, buddy. It happens a lot actually where people have, where you have a lot of land use changes. Let me catch this one, or try to. It's another Tallapoosa bass. That's another really beautiful Tallapoosa bass. You can see all that blue-green coloration on the head. That becomes really prominent around the spawn, especially on the males. See you, buddy. Alabama bass. See you, buddy. That's a fine how do you do.